Welcome to The Explainer. You know, the buildings all around us aren't just concrete and steel. They're telling stories. So today, we're going to dig into what makes a building not just good, but truly great.
All right, let's jump right in by looking at two totally different spaces. On one side, you've got this wild, kaleidoscopic mall entrance in Tokyo. It's all about flash, energy, that wow factor. Then on the other side, this incredibly serene church in Japan. It's basically just concrete and a sliver of light shaped like a cross, but it creates this amazing sense of peace.
So here's the thing. Both of these are seen as amazing pieces of architecture, but for completely opposite reasons. Which kind of makes you wonder, right? Is there some secret formula for what makes a building great? Or does it all just come down to what that building is trying to do?
Well, it turns out the answer is kind of both. You see, architects have figured out that there are some principles that just feel right to us as humans. It doesn't matter where you're from or what time period you live in. They tap into this universal language that we all understand.
Okay, first up is something called proportion and scale. This is really just about how the different parts of a building fit together and, most importantly, how they relate to us, to our own bodies. When an architect nails this, a space just feels right. It's not too big and intimidating, and it's not too small and cramped. It's built for people.
And this idea is ancient. I mean, really ancient. The Greeks were obsessed with it. They believed the human body was the perfect model for beautiful proportions. So when they designed their columns, they weren't just thinking about holding up a roof. They were basically sculpting a human figure, giving it a head, a body, and a foot.
All right, next up, natural light. And this is so cool. The best architects don't just cut holes for windows. No, they think of daylight as an actual building material, just like brick or steel. They use it to literally carve out spaces, to shape how we feel, and to keep us connected to the outside world, to the passing of the day.
And for a perfect example of this, look no further than the Pantheon in Rome. I mean, wow. There's just one source of light, this single round opening in the ceiling called the oculus. And as the sun tracks across the sky, this massive beam of light moves through the space, like a giant moving sundial. It does more than just tell time. It connects you to the cosmos. The whole building feels alive, like a giant celestial clock.
But here's the thing. Those universal principles, they're just the foundation. They give a building a kind of soul, for sure. But what really shapes it, what decides what it ultimately looks and feels like, is its mission. You know, what is this building actually for?
So let's look at three completely different missions. First, the mission to sell. Think creating an entertainment destination. Second, the mission to inspire, like making faith something you can physically see and feel. And third, a mission that's becoming more and more important, the mission to protect, designing buildings that can handle whatever the future throws at them.
Okay, so when your mission is to sell stuff, especially now when everyone can just buy things online, a mall has to be more than a mall. It has to be a spectacle. We're talking about these huge, grand entrances, indoor amusement parks, aquariums, even massive indoor wave pools. The whole point is to create an experience you can't get on your phone, something that just pulls you in.
Now let's do a complete 180 and think about a church. The mission here couldn't be more different. The goal is for the building itself to be, and this is a great phrase, the built form of theology. It's about taking these huge spiritual ideas and making them real, something you can touch and see and experience with your own senses.
And this is where it gets really clever. Church architecture is brilliant at borrowing and repurposing powerful symbols. Think about the Roman Triumphal Arch. It was all about celebrating an emperor's military victory. Well, early Christians saw that powerful shape and thought, we can use that. They put it on the front of their churches, and suddenly it's not about military power anymore. It's a symbol of a spiritual victory.
Okay, now for a third mission, one that's become super urgent lately, the mission to protect. This is all about something called resilient design. And it's not just about bouncing back after a disaster hits. It's about being smarter, about preparing communities for the challenges that are coming down the line, whether we see them coming or not.
And the key to resilience is first understanding what a community is up against. Experts break this down into two things, shocks and stresses. Shocks are the big, sudden things, a hurricane, an earthquake, a flood. But stresses are the slow burn problems, the things that are always there, like a lack of affordable housing or crumbling roads. These stresses make it way harder for a community to get back on its feet after a shock.
So a really smart strategy here is to work with nature instead of fighting it. Take this green roof in Boston. It's a perfect example. It looks like just a patch of grass, right? But it's actually a hard-working system.
It soaks up heavy rain to help prevent flooding, it cools the building, which helps cool the whole city, and on top of all that, it's a nice space for people to enjoy. It's solving multiple problems at once.
And all this long-term thinking brings us to what might be the ultimate test of great architecture. Can it last? And I don't just mean can it survive an earthquake. I mean, can it stay useful and meaningful not just for us, but for our kids and their kids for generations to come? A big part of that is choosing materials that age gracefully. Materials that actually get better over time. Think about stone or copper that gets that beautiful green patina, or old brick. The whole idea is not to fight against time and weather, but to work with them, letting the building gain character and history as it gets older.
Another huge piece of the puzzle is adaptability. Truly great buildings often have what you'd call good bones. A really solid structure, high ceilings, big open spaces. Take the Tate Modern Museum in London. That building used to be a power station. When it was no longer needed for that, they didn't tear it down. Because its bones were so good, it could be completely reinvented as a world-class art museum. It shows that a great building can have more than one life.
And today, architects are pushing this idea to incredible new limits. Check this out. The Bullitt Center in Seattle was designed from day one to have a lifespan of 250 years. Let that sink in. That is 6 times longer than a typical office building we build today. It's just a totally different way of thinking.
Okay, so when you put all this together, these universal human principles, the specific mission of a building, and this idea of designing for the long haul, you can start to look at the world around you in a whole new way. You can start to read the buildings, because every single one is telling you a story.
So I want you to try this. Next time you're out, look around. What story is your city hall telling you about power and government? What does your local library or school say about how much your community values learning? All those little choices, the materials they used, how big it is, how the light comes in, they're all clues to what a community really cares about.
And this isn't just about giant fancy buildings. It applies to everything, from a huge cathedral down to a simple public library, like this one. It might look straightforward, but its story is huge. It's telling you that this community believes in open access to knowledge for everyone. It's a warm, safe public space in a place that gets really cold. It's a physical sign of a community investing in its own people.
Because really, that's what it all comes down to. The truly great buildings, they do more than just keep the rain off our heads. They're a mirror. They reflect who we are, what we value, what we're afraid of, and what we dream of. They're a record of our story, telling us not only who we are right now, but who we're trying to become.